All right, May 22nd, Friday's lesson. The Civil Rights Movement investigation continues, this time relating to education. And you may or may not have heard of the famous Brown versus Board of Education case, where it talks about, I think her name was Linda Brown. But it wasn't just one case, it was multiple cases, all focused on the same thing: unequal treatment of African American people in relation to education, segregated schools. And the logical thing is, if it's segregated based on race, it's not going to stay equal, even if they say it is, and it wasn't. So you had people that started trying to get enrolled in white schools and being denied. They had a court case. Then you had like this Barbara Rose Johns, who, as a high school student, started a protest about that same type of thing. That was a case in Virginia. So there was cases in about 4 or 5 different places that all rolled into the one. They finally took this to the Supreme Court and got a ruling on it. You'll see that in the timeline in just a second. But the main thing we're going to be working on is explaining how the Brown versus Board of Education changed education in schools. And it tells you the slides you're supposed to do work on there. You can read that. I'm not going to bore you with that. Now you see the timeline where Linda Brown in 1951 was denied access. Also in 1951, Barbara Rose Johns tried to get something going on at the high school, more equitable treatment, and it didn't work. So they started the court case. It kept building, more cases included in it. In 1954, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that education that was separate based on race was inherently, that means understood to be unequal. And so then they did away with it, and schools started to change, except for one county in Virginia that actually closed the schools down for 5 years rather than integrate. But eventually they did integrate because they couldn't win that battle in the long run. But that's not part of the lesson. That's just a bit of trivia. So moving on, there's your first a See Think Wonder based on two pictures: an African American school and a white school at the time. Then you see a Brain Pop video here. Again, look at the questions first, then use the video. Then you see this where you have another video, the doll experiment. Watch it, then come write your opinion about it. Then you have your reflections, and then it's an easy Friday lesson.